Hi, everyone. This is Marie LaBrasse. Yes, I know you're looking for John Rawlings. Well, he's going to be here in a minute. He is coming into his house and getting set up. And meanwhile, welcome to Real Talk with John Rawlings. You know, he doesn't warn me, Debbie. In fact, the guest today is Commissioner Debbie McDowell from the city of Northport. And I'm going to bring her up so both of us are on the screen here. Debbie, we were talking off air where was telling you, I don't put on makeup a lot of times when I'm doing John's show because I don't want him to bring me on at times. And what happened? He brought me and I'm red. I have rosacea. Anyhow, thank you everyone that's joining us today for Commissioner Debbie McDowell. And I understand, Debbie, there's a lot happening in the city of Northport. And I know John's going to be coming on and talking about that. But before he gets on here, let's talk.
Okay, let's talk.
Girl to girl. What's going on that maybe a guy wouldn't ask you? I don't know. John actually asks very intelligent questions, and he knows, what's going on. He keeps an eye on everything.
So are you looking for like inside scoop that John doesn't know?
I wanted to know the inside scoop.
Yeah, okay. I'm not the one to ask for inside scoop.
Well, can I ask? Maybe I should have asked you stuff off air. Okay. Before we came on,
well,
but I know. Oh, well, I don't know if you can even talk about it because, I was involved with the Northport Arts Center, and because of me going through some health issues, I had to resign from their board. However, I know that they're having to look for a new home. Do you know anything about that property there for Dallas White?
No, the only thing I know is that the Art Center is trying to find a new home, a permanent home for it's a nonprofit and they're leasing the building. It's a city building on city property. They're looking for something probably bigger, better location. I don't know exactly what they're trying to do. I'm not privy to that.
I am.
But okay, so you got more scoop than I do.
Yeah, well, I was on their board, so
the city owns that property, and it's considered part of the Dallas White complex. Most people, when they hear Dallas White, they think the pavilion, they think the park, they think the old pool, but actually, that whole Dallas White is a complex of the Art Center buildings, the children's clothing closet building, the old YMCA building that's now vacant, the volleyball courts, the pavilion, the softball field, the park, and also the fire station. So we're trying to find a P3 to work with us on all of the entire complex, except for, of course, the fire station, to see what we can do with that property. We're supposed to be having a conversation again in a couple of months, maybe sooner. On what AP3 might bring forward to us as to what that might look like. And we're trying to do it in tandem, if it's possible, with a property over on Italy Avenue, which is on the east side of town. Over by Atwater Elementary, we own a large parcel of land to see if we can get a community center or a park or something out there too. So
right, and that's the Atwater one, butts up to Charlotte County. On that.
No, not that far. No, not that
okay. Far. Well, Atwater goes and ends at because Liberty Elementary is down the way, and where does Sarasota start? Yeah, where does City of Northport end by Atwater there?
Right there at Hillsborough Boulevard, but this property is more interior to where Atwater Elementary is in Atwater Park. It's in that general geographical area. It's not.
Would you explain to the audience? I know what a P3 is, but many people may not. Maybe your general public does not know what that stands for.
So a P3 is a public-private partnership, and that can take on many different looks to it. And each P3, when they come forward, the public-private partnership, when they come forward, they have an idea that, hey, we can do this with the property. And part of our job as the commission, we work with staff, we work with the P3 to take the commission's idea of what we're looking for and the P3's idea of what we're looking for and see if we can find a balance and find a compromise. Or they may present something that the commission goes, holy cow, that's fantastic. Or they may present something where the commission goes, oh, we are just so far apart. There's no coming together. So we don't know what they're going to present to us for the Dallas White Complex or the Italy Avenue Complex. So.
Well, John's in the background. John, I'll bring you up in a minute. We're in a conversation. Can you wait?
It's not your show anymore, John. It's Marie's. You put her in charge.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about, too, is people don't understand. Well, many people do understand how big the city of Northport footprint is, where the property goes. But I've lived here 35 years now in the area, and I've seen when they annex the area that everybody, up by the Wellham Parks there, and how the Sarasota County and the city of Venice didn't want to mess with that area there years ago. A lot of people don't know that history because they haven't been here long enough to really understand. That was kind of like nowhere land, and we had a water well drilling company, and I know the water quality around that area sucks, so it's really good that they got city sewer and water in there. John, you ready to come up? Oh, and one last thing. How big? Okay, you go out to the I was going to say the ranchettes because I live in Charlotte County, but you go out to the estates, Northport Estates. How far out does that property go for the city of Northport?
So if you were to take Toledo Blade all the way north, as far north as you can go. Hi, John. Bye, John. You go underneath I-75, then you cross over Tropicare, and you pretty much dead end at Walton Ranch. That is the northern boundary of the city of Northport. If you were to follow that, basically, power line trail from Walton Ranch all the way down, that's a fair way of saying where the city limits are. It's a little south of there. It's actually at the R ditch, south of the power lines.
Uh-huh. And then to the west, how far does it go? Because it is at what, Chamberlain, kind of south, and
okay, so north.
Yeah, north. It's kind of crazy kind of loops there with Charlotte County and where Sarasota. It's kind of, how far west does it go though?
Okay, west would end at Grove Street. And then that becomes unincorporated Sarasota County. And then Northport city limits gets picked up just a little bit west of River Road into the Welland Park area. And it ends basically where Grand Paradiso Island Walk ends their subdivision. East, if you take Price Boulevard all the way east towards Charlotte County, when Price Boulevard ends but kind of curves, that's basically the city limits. South is Hillsborough Boulevard or Chancellor Boulevard, depending on where you are south on the map.
Yeah. Joe Morgan I have on my show quite a bit because we've done the history of the city of Northport, and she said they used to have to pack a picnic lunch to go to Price. So it was a dirt road for many a year. Okay, John.
I remember when Price Boulevard didn't have a stoplight.
Oh, right.
There was no stoplight on Price Boulevard.
No, and welcome to your show, John.
Hi, John. Hey, welcome to your show.
I'm finally here.
I hope we hold down the fort for you.
Well, yay. Well, I'm going to go off so your audience, we don't lose them all. Okay. So thank you, everybody. Take it away.
Thanks, Marie.
Right. So
hi, John. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
So we've got quite a lot happening in Northport. I really just arrived yesterday with my granddaughters, and officially we've been to two parks.
Nice.
We went over to City Hall and hit the park over there right by Pop Warner Field. And then we slid over to, of course, the water park. and
I
check.
bet they love that.
Yeah, in fact, they are so antsy and ready to go. And I said, listen, we've got to go when we can spend the whole day. So I'm going to throw some kudos out there too, because both parks that we went to were phenomenal. So Parks and Recs, you're doing a great job. If you haven't checked out the local parks, I would highly encourage anybody and everybody to go do it. The one that we went to over by the water park absolutely has a really nice shading over top of it. And when there's a nice breeze coming through, it's phenomenal. And now I will tell you that we kind of established ourselves with both. We got the nice breeze, and then we got the stagnant air. When the air is stagnant, my
it's
goodness.
hot.
Yeah, so it's like, oh my, time to go have lunch somewhere. So it was, and Zio's paid off today because we had Zio's pizza, and it was phenomenal. So just throwing some kudos out there along the way.
Sounds like a nice family day you had with your grandkids. That's awesome.
It was, and you saw me getting here. Everybody was rushing to get here to be on the show. We were sitting at Zio's Pizza and having a general conversation. Caroline went out to do a meeting, and it never registered me that her meeting, I only had 15 minutes to get back home. And we were just sitting there having so much fun. And then I looked at Karen, I'm like, it's 8 minutes till. So we checked out, loaded the truck, and we're gone within 2 minutes.
That's pretty impressive with grandkids.
Yes, it was. It was.
I may have to come in if he keeps on breaking up.
What's that?
I may have to be popping in here once in a while. You're freezing up. You're breaking up. So
Right,
I may have to.
Let me see if I can move around a little bit. I'm in a really good spot. I'll walk it around. How about that?
Okay, there he goes. And John is the man on the spot. In case anybody ever needs him to be the person behind a streaming and camera, you're frozen. But that's okay. We get to see you when you're frozen.
Yeah, I'm not frozen here.
Fine.
Oh, okay. There you go.
All right.
Don't know.
So
he's frozen again. Maybe it's on my side.
I think it's on your side because I can see him perfectly fine.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I would.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about what's happening in Northport now. And I kind of want to start somewhere with you because I interviewed somebody on Monday, kind of in your spot, which was totally on me, and I'll take full responsibility for it because you were rip-roaring ready to go. So it was just a little.
Stuff happens.
Yeah, it's a scheduling faux pas. So
I'll call it that.
Yeah.
I got bumped. You can admit it, John. Just say it. I got bumped. Somebody more important got my spot. That's okay. I no hard feelings.
It was a bump and a push.
No, it was a kick in the high knee.
Sometimes we all need that, don't we?
So what's up?
So, I want to talk about the most important thing that's happening right now in my best guess, and that would be the election that's coming up. Even though it's a long way out.
August. We got 2 elections coming up. You want to talk about August or you want to talk about November?
I want to talk about both, and I want you to talk about August and why that is something that the citizens of Northport should be paying attention to.
Okay. So August election is the school board election. So it's basically one shot. Whoever gets elected in August for the school board is who your school board members are going to be. This is a one-time deal. They do not have primaries. They don't have general elections. They don't have runoffs. It's winner take all, basically. So the school board election is in August, and also the primaries. The Republican Party has their primaries and they have their ballot. The Democrats have their primaries and their ballot. The school board is on both ballots, regardless if it's you're a Democrat or Republican, because the school board is nonpartisan. So everybody get out and vote because you're going to be voting for your school board. That's all. In a nutshell.
So I want to stop there just for a second because the value of a school board to a community like ours, our schools here in Northport, we do very well. We have a good foundation set. A good school board with a good election can't that enhance the living conditions within a city?
Yeah, it absolutely can. I don't want people to think that the city of Northport has anything to do with the school board election. We have nothing to do with that.
Right.
The school board election is, you're setting the people in place to make decisions for our schools within Sarasota County, within the city of Northport. So hopefully the good candidates get elected. I am not going to say who those are. I feel that the public is smart enough to figure out what they want for their schools.
So I'm going to tie this in together because you answered that exactly the way I thought you would answer it. Because one, there are certain things that happen within our city that are out of control of commissioners. That's just one component of it. Okay. And a lot of people are moving here. They're new. I know that when they come from different cities, they understand the systems that are in play. One is the county. Then you've got the school board system, and then you've got the city of Northport.
And there's three separate government entities.
Absolutely. And the importance of understanding where we live and what it's all about is the structure of the city itself, right?
Yes. And you're covering everything that I'm going to be covering in my Northport Government and U class next Saturday on the 30th.
So if you're teaching it, what is the value of teaching it?
So people understand, because you hit the nail on the head. Everybody comes from somewhere else. And a lot of people don't realize our Sarasota County Schools is not run by Sarasota County.
Right.
They're a totally separate government entity. They're totally separate as far as a taxing authority. They're totally outside of the purview of the City of Northport Commission. I have more citizens than I can count that say, why doesn't the City of Northport put in a school over in my area? Well, that's not our role. That's the county school board's role. And it's not even Sarasota County. They're three separate things.
And one point that I want to raise here real quick is that I didn't even know you were holding that class. It's not like we sit and talk about all these things so that we're prepared for the radio show, correct?
Right. So I have advertised it on my commissioner page. I am going to start really blasting it again because it's getting a little bit closer. Hopefully the newspapers will be printing my opt-ed piece or guest writer article that I have going in the newspaper. I have shared it with the chamber. I've shared it with Northport Forward. So, I can get the word out as best I can. Hopefully people come. And what I do in this Northport Government and U class is I talk about the Northport government and how our government works, because it's different than where people come from. I also talk about planning and zoning and, why don't we have a downtown and why do we have so many car washes, all that kind of stuff. And then I also talk about the budget. And the budget is the meat and the potatoes of this whole conversation, but I can't talk about the budget until I talk about the other stuff.
And I want to talk a little bit about the next election and
that's in November.
Yeah, the November election, and why why the citizens in general, because we don't have totals of the voting population that we really should inspire our people to be at. How do you think people should address not just the school board election, because there's a huge responsibility with the average age of roughly 48 here in Northport?
It's a fair age. Yeah, it's an average.
Yeah, and so the average age of 48, there's a lot of young people here. Yep. And we've got 5 elementary schools dumping into 2 middle schools, dumping into 1 high school. If you don't think that's a factor and why you shouldn't get out and vote, wake up. But I also want to wake you up for the second part of that is, if we don't encourage people to participate in an election year when it's not a presidential election, okay, a lot of times we pick up votes there, but we really need those numbers to grow, and we need people to be aware of what and why they're looking at different candidates, don't we?
Yes. So the November's election, in my opinion, The bottom of the ballot is probably more important than the top of the ballot. Yes, we have to vote for our senators. Yes, we have to vote for our representatives, both at the federal and state level. And those are usually at the top. Federal gets first billing, then state elections, and then it goes down to local elections and referendums. The bottom of the ballot is what affects every single person in this area. Yes, the federal and state elections affect you too, but the bottom of the ballot affects you every single day. In so many different ways. Local elections are so important. We have a lot of different referendums on the ballot in November, but the local election, we are having Commissioner Luke cannot run again. She terms out. She did her two terms and she cannot run again. So there are two candidates for District 5, which was Commissioner Luke's district. We have Phil Stokes and we have Victor Dobrin. It is a nonpartisan race. You just because you don't live in District 5, which doesn't matter, you get to still vote. Citywide, if you're registered to vote, you get to vote for District 5. So then we also have District 4, which is up for re-election, but because Mayor Emmerich had nobody run against him, he qualified to be a candidate. Nobody else wanted to be a candidate. So Mayor Emmerich automatically gets in office. He won his seat and he didn't have to even campaign. Lucky him.
Right. And that doesn't happen very often.
No, it does not. It does not happen often at all. Don't know why. People are wondering why didn't anybody want to run against him? I have no idea. You'd have to ask all the people in District 4 that maybe wanted to run or was considering running why they didn't put their hat in. But it's over and done. Pete's already been elected for his second term, even though he didn't have to go through that whole process. He won it by default.
And he'll still be participating in all the normal election type things, like any debates or any forums that are out
Probably
there.
not.
Oh, I have a feeling he's going to be doing the one at the chamber.
That was last night, sir, and he didn't participate.
Oh, he didn't. Okay.
No.
They had him down as a participant, yeah. But I wouldn't think you would. And I agree with you. Assessing that overall, I wouldn't want to do that either.
Yeah, we'll see if he did. Okay, let's be fair. Let's think about this realistically. If he participated in that candidate forum last night, that takes away the time that they could ask more questions of those that are running for election. So you can't sway anybody. He's already elected. So I can understand possibly why he decided not to participate in that.
Right. And that, I think that was a later decision, but I think it was a correct decision.
Oh, yeah.
On his behalf. And I liked your explanation on why. Unfortunately, I was traveling yesterday. Grandpa. What's that?
You were playing Grandpa.
I was 100%. Well, last night I was actually playing exhausted Grandpa because I legitimately hit a wall. And because I've been back and forth now 4 times, return trip twice to Ohio, and we brought our granddaughters down, and Caroline rode with me down this time, and we actually did 13 hours the first day.
That's a lot of driving.
That was a lot of driving. It was 800 miles total that we put in the first day.
Did you have the kids with you?
Both granddaughters and
that
Caroline.
Makes it even longer.
Well, I got to tell you, Caroline and I, we managed to get down. I think the whole trip was about 19 hours of drive time, and I could total up maybe 10 minutes of outbursts total. Those two, Ellie and EVT, both traveled like they were on a mission.
Good.
And here's the beauty: we've got an election that's on a mission too.
Yes.
Because there are some distinct differences between the two candidates that are running. And I'm glad, and I don't want you to throw your hat in the ring here and talk about any of that unless you want to. But go ahead.
I think you're correct. We have 2 distinctly different candidates. but I think it's going to boil down to one major issue and a few minor issues. I think the major issue is the de-annexation because they're both from the Welland Park area and they're both from Grand Paradiso. So I think de-annexation is going to be a huge issue. Some of the other ones is the fiscal responsibility. That can mean different things to different people. And some people may think what is fiscally responsible is maybe not so much. So I think it's going to boil down to those two things. And it's a winner take all. There's whoever wins this November election, that's who's going to be seated as the next commissioner.
And I'm not going to blast either candidate right now at all. I had one on. I'm going to have another one on soon, and I really want to be fair-minded to both as a host.
Absolutely, as you should.
And I want to, between the two of us, we've had multiple shows now, and we talked prior to you even being elected, and we've been friends a long time. So yeah. I knew about you long before that, where a lot of people did not.
Right.
What would you tell people now, if you were running right now? What would you tell people to pay attention to?
First thing I would do is have them sit down with that candidate, both candidates, and get to know them. Because Facebook is a blessing and a curse. You have different teams, I'm going to call them teams, that this is my candidate, vote for my candidate, and they throw stuff out and they throw stuff out. Sometimes that can be detrimental and sometimes that can be helpful. I am a firm believer you got to make your own decision. And the only way you can make your own decision is to actually talk to the candidates, get to know them, and then take all of the team information and help you solidify who you really think earned your vote. You got to make sure that that person earned your vote. And you can't use the opinion of a stranger to make those decisions for you. I really hope people are smart enough, strong enough to make their own decisions without the influence of others. Get to know the candidates. Do your research on the candidates. There's a lot of public information out there. Ask them, kind of get to know your existing commissioners and say, hey, this candidate and how are they going to be able to work together with you up on the dais? What are your thoughts of the candidates? What also make sure that they participate in the process ahead of time. If you have a candidate that never comes to a commission meeting, and I'm not saying either one do that, I'm not saying that, but we've had in the past candidates that don't go to commission meetings. And when they first walk in, it's like, oh, that's where I'm supposed to go. It's kind of like, and you want to be a commissioner? At least see if they're doing their homework ahead of time. See if they're learning the process. See if they're learning what the big projects are that are coming up. So everybody's going to make their own minds up. And I go back to, it's going to boil down to one major topic and one minor topic: de-annexation and fiscal responsibility.
So I'm gonna sit here for a second, and I'm gonna go two questions. And my first question is going to be on the fiscal responsibility side, and I'm not going to gear this towards either candidate. I want Debbie McDowell's commissioner point of view on fiscal responsibility and how that should be addressed as what you've come through as a citizen becoming a commissioner, and now over time. I mean, what year are we in now?
For me?
Yep.
5.5.
Almost 5.5 years.
Almost 6.
So strategically, your mindset is totally different, and I promise you it's totally different. And you're shaking your head, so radio people don't hear, but or see it, but they might hear it. Rattle, rattle. That was a joke.
I know it was. So
mine is worse than that. So I was the one who missed the call time today. So anyway, the fiscal responsibility side that you've picked up on between the last 5.5 years, what would you suggest a candidate look at, and what has been the most pivotal point for you in trying to keep fiscally responsible?
I think the most pivotal point was understanding that just because the money's coming in from here doesn't mean you get to spend it anywhere. There are certain things that the money can only be spent on. Surtax, for example, can only be spent on infrastructure projects. You cannot use surtax for salaries, for example. Impact fees can only be used for growth-related projects. And in that actual impact fees category is all it can be used for. So you're collecting impact fees. You can't use transportation impact fees to build a park. Just like you can't use park impact fees to help build a government building. So there's different buckets that the money can only be used from and put into. Just learning the budget, my goodness sakes, this year alone, this year's budget is $214 million. That's quite a big difference than just even 5 years ago. This year's budget has a lot of things that are added because we got so much additional revenue from property values increasing exponentially. Property values and property income has gone up like 26%. But that's not just property values, my property values and your property values going up 26%. That's not what I'm saying. It's because of all the new development that's coming online that used to be vacant property and now is like a big Benderson industrial park, or it was vacant property and now it's a home. So that increased those property values. And that's what came up 26% higher than last year. It was a lot of it was all of the new developments coming online and all the people that sold their homes that reset those property values because of Save Our Homes.
So, when you have different,
there's a lot to learn.
right? So we have these different buckets, and I'm gonna call it kind of pre-gaming to become a commissioner.
Yeah.
I think everybody should pre-game for a Ohio State game. I think everybody should pre-game when they're looking at a different job. I think if you're running for city commissioner, you should pre-game so that you're prepared and you're ready to step in. And you may not be ready to step in and act like you're a seasoned commissioner, but at least understand your role and understand where it's got to go, or understand the roadmap that you think is successful. So I'm going to branch off of that, and I'm going to go to de-annexation.
Okay.
And this is not directed at any specific candidate, but it is directed at the city and how it would affect the city. So let's just say that Welland Park is now officially Sarasota County. And
God help us.
It's 100% de-annexation, and every one of those individuals who live in the city of Northport now get to live in the county because they win. Okay? What effect does that have on the city of Northport?
John, it sounds like it's a very simple question.
It is not.
It is not. And here's why. There are so many agreements between the developer in Welland Park and the city of Northport. Those would have to be, I guess, redone. I don't even know what that looks like. It'll probably have to go through the courts to determine how this is going to look, because we entered in an agreement with the developer and now they're not part of our city. So what happens to the infrastructure that are now our responsibility that is now in unincorporated Sarasota County? The developer paid for it, but there was an agreement that was done that, hey, we're going to build it, you're going to maintain it, and you're going to pay us back on impact fees. Well, now we can't collect impact fees because they're not there, but we have to still pay them back. there's a lot of agreements that have to be looked at and dissected and figured out. The other part is look at the economic development. You have to go back to when this was originally annexed. I was living here when this, well, no, when it was first being developed is when basically I moved here, and talks of it being developed. That was supposed to be our economic driver. That was supposed to be our commercial areas. And they have a beautiful downtown that's coming online probably by the end of this year. It's many places are already starting to pop and be open. The economic development of that area is vitally important to Northport and our vision and our plans and our future. And now that that is ripped off of you, my gosh, what are you supposed to, it'd be similar to just cutting off your arm and part of your leg and still have to function as a human being. It's very difficult to do that. And I can tell you're looking at your little ones. So how do you function that way when an integral part of our city would no longer be?
Right.
Your body is your body. Northport is one entity. And if you chop off your arm, how do you function? If you cut off this part of your boundaries, how do you function? I don't even want to begin to fathom it. And then what do you do about the citizens that love Northport, that want to stay in Northport, that bought in Northport, and now they're in unincorporated Sarasota County? This is not an easy answer. This is a very big issue.
Well, and I'm going to say this because, all my life I've heard one line: the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
No, it's not.
and 59 years. I'll be August 1st. So I look at this whole thing, and every time I go to make a decision, and a major decision, I think about that line, because if you just live your life basically by, is the grass greener over there? There's jobs that you talk yourself out of. There's a career move that you may, hey, it's not greener over there, I better slow down. Well, disconnecting from a city that you moved to, that you were not here prior to any decisions. I find myself as not a realtor, not a show host, but a citizen who's been part of Northport for almost 23 years, who I consider this my home. Absolutely. I consider this where I live. This is my anchor. This is everything. The people, the contacts, the even the political side of it. I have a great rapport with every commissioner. I have a great rapport with our new mayor, or our new city manager, sorry. So when you start looking at how you handle yourself within a city, when you embrace a city like it's yours, you have its best interest in mind.
Yes, you do.
If there's someone out there that really has the best interest in not being a part of the city, and I'm not mentioning names, I want people to do research. I want people to figure things out. And truthfully, don't look at social media, because the garbage they're going to be spewing out on social media, you've got to research that. I don't care what election. You have got to look at the candidates, and you've got to make sure you educate yourself.
And look at facts, not emotion. You have to look at the verifiable facts and remove all of the emotions.
Because if people in this city don't vote this time, and they don't understand what they're voting for, and they just go in and click because it looks good, Hey, that sign looked good going down the street. Okay, click. Okay,
Or
big
they don't
mistake.
continue to the end of the ballot,
Right. That's a
because
big
that
factor
happens
too.
too. That happens too.
And so I want to go back to a number here.
A
Okay.
number? Okay,
A number. And I'm not going to throw you under the bus, I
go
promise.
for it.
All right. So a number is what would be the deficit? And I know you're not going to be able to name it.
Oh,
Okay.
I can't.
Because the factors that involve, and maybe let me ask a different question and I'll come back to this, because the most important thing that I think we all need to realize, is there anyone that is currently trying to break away from Northport who was here when we all voted to annex it into Northport?
I don't think so.
So everyone pretty much.
I've been here 33 years, and it was already. I've been here 33 years. It's been vacant cow. When I moved, cow pasture landscape, it was just vacant land. And then it slowly started getting a little bit developed in like 2006 ish. And then that stopped when the economy stopped. And then it just like was like a phoenix coming out of the ground, and just became what we're seeing today.
And they're not done.
And they're nowhere close to being done. Oh my gosh. So it's John, I cannot begin to quantify what the loss would be if the de-annexation is successful. Right now it's going through the courts. And I said it when we had our hearing back in May, that the effects of even talking about de-annexation are unquantifiable. Nobody wants to go and start a business in an area that, hey, they might not be in Northport in 10 years or 5 years or 3 years, and we might be in unincorporated Sarasota County. That is a huge effect too.
And what does that role, that position, what effect does that have on growth in that area?
It has a lot of an effect on growth. It does. It has an effect on growth. I mean, Welland Park, probably 5-7 years ago, was number 1, 2, or 3 as a master planned community. And now it's like 12 to 20. It's dropped. It's still growing. It's still booming. Yes, it's still being developed. But how do you go from 1 through 5, and then 5 years later you drop down from like 12 to 20, depending on what you're looking at?
You throw a lot of garbage and a lot of water on the fire that you had going, because you want to douse where it's at until you get what you want. And here's my question, ultimately.
Go for it.
Yeah. And I'm struggling with this whole thing myself, because I know what I want to tell people. I want to tell them, grow up, okay? You weren't part of the vote before you got here. You didn't understand anything, and now you're nitpicking about things. But my question ultimately would be to someone, and I really want to get the candidate on if he'll show up, and I don't think he will. Because I'm not going to be easy. I wasn't easy on the other candidate because he didn't know, and I really didn't want to be, because we have to define. And his answers were fantastic. So if you want to learn something about the gentleman, go back and watch Monday's show. It's live on Facebook. It's on YouTube. It's on Twitter. It's all right there, and it's raw. It is not planned. There is nothing that I set him up for, just like this show today or any other show that I do. But I think the most important part is people who are fighting not to be us, Northport. Why would you want to elect somebody who wants not to be here? But my question is why are they here If they don't want to be, they can move. You know, I can't ask you that question because it's a trick question, okay? Because people can't just pick up and move when they make a mistake. And the funny thing is everyone who's in this bucket right now truthfully knew where they were moving to, and if they throw the hat and answer into the hat, that they were listening to their real estate agent. Well, unless they really had one, they weren't, because we're not allowed to do anything like that. If they were listening to sales guys who work for the builders, they were absolutely getting fed a pile of crap. I was part of correcting that. Okay.
But the only person that's signing to buy that house is the person that signed to buy that house that lives there or invested there. It's on them.
Yes.
It's buyer beware. This is something from medieval times. You have to do your homework. You have to be aware of what is going on. And it's buyer beware. Yes, nobody likes to admit I didn't do my homework. Nobody admits that. My gosh, it takes a really strong person to go, "Oh, I didn't read that document. This is all my fault."
And that happens a lot.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just for buying a house, it's buying a car, it's signing up for a job, it's just about everything.
When I had people out showing houses and they said they wanted to move there, the first thing I did was very first thing is I drove them out and then I drove back in. And I said, pay attention to where we're driving into. We're going into Northport. You're going to be told this is Venice. It doesn't touch Venice. So get real and understand that we're right now in unincorporated Sarasota County and we're driving into Northport. The other side of things, I want to throw it at you because I know the answer because I'm a realtor and I know my numbers and I understand how things work in real estate. Do people lose property value because they live in the West Villages and there is a comparison to the rest of Northport? No, because the truth of the matter is every home sale is within probably, an appraisal can be done within 5 mile circumference. If there are other sales around it, there are so many sales happening within Welland Park, they don't even have to touch, truthfully, unincorporated Sarasota County or Venice to do it. They can do it right in their neighborhood. So once again, citizens, if you've heard that you're going to lose value because your appraisal is going to come in different because you live in Northport, that's just another factual lie. And I will call it a lie because whoever told you that was 100% lying to you. That is not.
They're twisting the facts.
Well, twisting the facts. I can be bold and say lying because the truth of the matter is they were purposely misleading the buyer.
Absolutely.
I won't do that ever and never have. A lot of the realtors I know, we fight really hard to keep the reputations that we have. And the person I interviewed the other day absolutely came forward and said, the sales representatives.
Yep.
There's a difference between a sales representative and a real estate agent.
Yes, there is.
And there's distinct difference. Okay. Now, in saying that, are there differences between quality of candidates if we don't pay attention?
Yes.
So drawing this all together, go ahead.
So just like there are different candidates, there are also different commissioners. We have a very diverse group right now up on that board. We don't always agree. Things can get kind of testy up there, but then there are other times where we are lockstep in agreement. Everybody comes from a different perspective. Everybody comes from a different ideal. Everybody has different thought processes. And that is what makes this commission and the other ones I've been on. I have not been on a commission where everybody agreed with everything all the time. It's never going to happen.
So I'm going to ask two questions. The first one is, and truthfully, snowbirds, people who are maybe not snowbirds that come down here in the summertime, go back in the winter, reverse kind of snowbird type thing, because they rent their house out. Okay. What's the value of actually upping that vote count? Because I know people who work here and live here struggle to get out and vote. And I dare say that if we had citizens out there that were registered to vote and were mail-in order, I bet that our numbers are not good there either. But what would you do to encourage just the people who maybe own vacant land here? Because truthfully, one day you're going to build on it, and tax bases, all those things matter. Okay. What would you tell the absentee voters to do?
You mean the ones that do not go out and vote?
Absolutely.
I would love to know, why don't you go out and vote? Why? What is preventing you from going out to vote? That is my question. I would love somebody to have the courage to answer. Why do you choose not to go out and vote? People will spend a half hour waiting in their car, waiting to go through a drive-through for Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts, but they won't take the time to go and vote. You can sign up for mail-in voting. You can go and vote early, and you can go and vote on the day of the election. I believe early voting, vote by mail is starting very soon. Yep. And then they're going to have, and that's for the August election. That's for the August election. If you're a registered voter, and I'm going to get kind of personal here, people fought and died for your ability to be able to vote and cast your ballot in secret. You can cast your ballot and nobody's holding a gun to your head saying you have to vote for this person. My God, we have countries that's what happens. And people fought and died for your ability to go and be able to vote, and people ignore that right. And I just cannot understand that.
So I have a rule when I talk to people, and we only got a couple minutes left.
Yeah, I know.
The rule that I have is, in a conversation that I'm having, I will openly have political conversations with anyone, as long as they answer the question first. Did you vote? Because if you didn't vote, I don't care what you think. Okay? Now, once you vote and you have a pattern of voting, I'm okay with that. But because you didn't vote, you don't have a voice. And you didn't do that because I said you don't have a voice. You did that because you made yourself not have a voice.
Exactly. You chose not to use your voice.
Yep. And so, we even raise kids, it's losing all your patience, telling a 4 and a 1-year-old, can you use your words? Tell me what you want. Use your words. And if we're trying to tell a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, get off your lazy butts, do your homework, and get out and vote. Because the truth of the matter is, I can answer your question. They're not voting because they're lazy and they don't care. And this is probably one of the times that if you own something in Northport, you better give a damn. And I'll let you finish.
If you want to learn more, I'll do my plug for my Northport Government and You class. It's on July 30th. It's at the Shannon Staub Library. Starts at 10:30, goes till about 1. I'm going to have light refreshments there. I guarantee you, with the amount of people that I've held this class for, and I'm talking probably a couple hundred, not one person walked out of there mad or disappointed or said, I just wasted 2 hours of my day. Every single person walked out of there going, holy cow, I never knew that. I learned so much. You have to take the time to learn so that you can understand. If you don't understand, it's not bad. It's just you have not sought to learn about it. I could never be an electrician. I could never go into IT, technology stuff, because I have to learn that. I don't have the desire. have to learn to be able to understand how government works. And I hope my class is the basics, and hope you'll come out and see me. But I'm always available if you have any questions. John, thank you very much. And I don't mind getting bumped anytime you.
It was an honest mistake, but you're a great teammate to have, because you made the adjustment, you pivoted for me, and I appreciate it.
That's all right. That's all right. Hey, have a lovely day.
You do the same. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Everybody be safe, drive safe, and get home.
Have a great weekend.
To the family and have